This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and we are live with none other than ASU Hall of Famer, former UFC champion, former WWE superstar, Dan the Beast Severn. We've had a long day today, climbing mountains, visiting his Hall of Fame, and now we're finishing off. He's showing me the new ASU wrestling facilities here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep, we're located here in Tempe, Arizona, is where Arizona State is located at. But we shot the other footage there out at Squaw Peak Mountain. That was actually a very beautiful day. And then to be inside of the Wells Fargo Arena and shooting some footage where we used to hold the home wrestling matches. And now we're back to the new wrestling room. So it would be nice to show you what the inside looks like, but we can't get in there right now.
There's someone on here that says you never age. Any beauty secrets?
Well, I'll just simply say that I've been accused of being, no longer can it be possible this Dan Severn. It's got to be Dan Severn Jr., the son of Dan Severn, just because of starting an amateur wrestling career back in 7th grade, 1969, and then having all the amateur wrestling accolades I did through my high school and collegiate years, and freestyle and Greco-Roman, but then jumping into judo and sambo in my freshman and sophomore years at Arizona State, and jumping then into tough men contest as of the 1992 Olympics, jumping in professional wrestling as of the 1992 new United States Olympic Committee ruling. So it's been an interesting ride, and I like to say that I'm not done yet. I'm still looking to inspire and to continue to do.
Speaking of interesting rides, this is actually the ASU golf cart, the official ASU wrestling golf cart that you're sitting in here.
The USA Wrestling emblem. So USA Wrestling is the national governing body over the sport of amateur wrestling, and they kind of oversee folk style, freestyle, and Greco.
There's a fan on here, Alexander Ramos, wants to know if you ever had any altercations or heated moments with other WWE talent.
No, not really. I mean, it was never no problem. I mean, they were there, or I should say, I was there for the same reasons that they were. They were a little nervous being around me in the beginning, just because I was very quiet. But they soon learned that I'm there for the same reasons, and they actually liked the fact that I could be serious, but then I could also be very laid back, relaxed, comical.
Did you ever get a chance to talk to Ken Shamrock privately and kind of work out any of your differences?
Yeah, no, I don't. No, we never really have sat down like something like this. I mean, you and I have spent actually more time together than probably anybody else I'd say in that professional world, other than say and Al Snow. Spent a lot of hours with Al. So it's I'll say that there'll be something interesting coming up, because there actually will be an interview that's going to be coming up with both Don Fry, Ken Shamrock, and myself. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Jeff Landis wants me to tell you hello.
Jeff Landis. No, that main name from way back, you bet.
Now, as far as coming back into wrestling, you're still taking indie bookings, but you have no plans to make a run in AEW or WWE again?
Yeah, well, again, they haven't reached out to contact me. I mean, would I have any interest, stuff like that? It's hard to say. It just all depends on what their ideas are, because as I've stated in other interviews, I care about what I represent, what my character represents. Too old in the game to want to do any crazy type of thing, so it's kind of like going, I can easily just ride this on out for what it is. But if they want to use me the right way, I would keep lines of communication open.
Jack O'Connor wants to know any tips for getting into pro wrestling.
Well, I would always try to steer you in any other direction. Make certain that you have a job. Make certain that job has some type of health benefits with it as well, because professional wrestling is going to injure you somewhere along the way. You're going to get in the ring with someone that says that they are a trained athlete. They might have been at one point in time, but if they don't continue to train, then they become a liability. Except when they screw up, it's not them who gets hurt. It's usually somebody else that they're doing technique with.
There's a fan on here, Victor Murphy, that wants to know if you could briefly detail what one of your Q&A seminars consists of.
A Q&A, well basically it's kind of like it'd be usually try to keep it to 2 hours and or less, but that Q&A could be at a place where you can dine as well. So, but doing something like that, they can almost ask me basically anything. It's kind of like right now. I mean, people are asking me questions, and I'll answer these questions. They could also, if they're set up, if they've got a smart TV, they can pull up a few different videos of whether they be professional wrestling matches, whether they be mixed martial arts matches, whether they be some older amateur wrestling matches. I mean, if you Google any of those different categories, you're going to see different things come on up. There's even people have even done musical montages, so it's a Q&A to where they can ask me almost anything and everything. I mean, if I feel very uncomfortable with the question, I'll simply just say next question. I'm easy going about that kind of stuff. But I do a lot of things, and the Q&As are just one of them to get to know. But if you can do it and you combine that with some food, so we're breaking bread, that's even a better, unique situation all the way around.
John Lambert wants to know, who is your favorite professional wrestler to watch, amateur and pro?
Oh, I can see you're really limited, okay, because you said both amateur and pro. How many have been both that amateur and professional wrestler in the first place? I mean, in the more current aspect, you're looking at like a Kurt Angle, he still performs here or there. You've had a lot of crossovers from MMA guys, some that were amateur wrestlers that then went into MMA that are now looking at this opportunity to jump into the professional wrestling arena as well. So there's a number that are crossing over. I really can't pinpoint one there for you. Each year during WrestleMania weekend, there's a number of those athletes that will be showcasing on blood sport, like Josh Burnett's blood sport arena, because he likes to utilize a lot of guys that actually have legitimate backgrounds on both sides, whether it be former MMA or amateur wrestling, but now they're also working in the world of professional wrestling.
We talked about this in the shoot interview you did with me at Squaw Peak today, but Alexander Ramos wants to know how you rate Steve Blackman as a fighter and martial artist.
Well, again, I just knowing that he actually has a legitimate martial arts background. I've never seen him in the actual MMA or NHB arena, so I don't know. There's a lot of people that credentials are one thing, actual practical application are something else. I would just think that someone like himself, he actually, to me, he carried himself very well. I think he would have fared well, but you just never know. There are athletes that are really, really strong in the practice room, but when you put them out in front of that crowd, they choke. Then there's other people that they can't walk across these wrestling mats without tripping over these painted on lines, but you put them out in front of a live crowd, and it's like, dun, dun, dun. It's the biggest vitamin B12 shot you can ever give them. They alter ego comes out. They really rise to the occasion. Most people fall somewhere in between. You don't know until the time comes, and I can't really state one way or the other. I just think that he had all the materials and credentials to be a force.
Eric Wolf wants to know, how do you feel about being the latest UFC video game, and how do you feel that WWE hasn't used you in any of their games since you left the company?
Well, and his first name was?
Eric Wolf.
Okay, Eric, I did not even know I was in the current UFC game, so I'll say, well, that's news to me. I just know that when you sign to be a competitor, you do sign away a great deal of rights just for that opportunity. I think it's great that I'm inside the game. I guess I would like to ask him, am I at least a strong character? Because if I'm not a strong character, that would be very disheartening to me, because if you look at what I did in that world, they should be using me as a very strong character.
And in WWE, I believe the payoff for those video games is considerable. I think it's at least 50 grand from some of the wrestlers that I know that have been in those WWE games. So hopefully they put you in there for that reason.
Well, again, I could care less if I make it in there, but should I be, one of the questions were asked earlier, should I be in the WWE Hall of Fame? Based on some of the people that have been inducted, oh, yes, I should be.
Well, that was one of the fan questions, so glad you brought it up. Josh wants to know, how did you get the name The Beast?
The legendary NFL Hall of Famer football player Jim Brown was one of the play-by-play commentators for, I think, 4 or 5 different UFC events. The UFC was using his notoriety as a tough football player to help draw more people to the audience, because at that time, the UFC was not all that well known. You weren't getting the huge turnouts. And until the more recent, I'd say in the last 10 years, I mean, they've had incredible sellout crowds. And Jim Brown is the gentleman that gave me the ring name The Beast. In his words, he simply said, he goes, when I first met you to Dan Severn, I did not think that much about you because you were the only guy to show up to a press conference wearing a sports jacket, a tie, and wearing your spectacles, glasses, because I need glasses for distance. Up close, I'm good. Distance, no.
Exhumed Corpse wants to know if you have any stories about Wanderlei Silva from back in the day.
No, not really. I mean, I have met Wanderlei a couple of different times. Again, they're all just friendly type of meetings. I think that we met at various UFC events and was always very complimentary. So, I mean, all good stuff.
The weightlifting dweeb wants to know how the MMA groupies were. I know that's not a subject you like to get into on camera, but they were definitely in existence, right?
Well, I guess what was the question?
The weightlifting dweeb wants to know about groupies.
Oh, well, I mean, groupies were around. I just, after the first couple of times I was working for the WWF, and I would find out where all the talent was staying, I would try to find different hotels, because I was on a very unique contract to where I had a great deal of control. So I could fly in a lot earlier. I could go someplace else, conduct a speaking engagement, conduct a seminar, and then show up to the arena later, and then work for WWF, now known as WWE, and work there. And then afterwards, go and do a sports bar appearance afterwards. So again, I was in the same 24 hours that most guys under contract with the WWF. They were pulling down one payday. I could pull down sometimes 2, 3, and 4 paydays in the same 24 hours. So I liked having the freedoms that I had.
Josh wants to know if you'd ever come back and work for us in Great North Wrestling in Canada again. Right now, nobody could do shows, so that's a bit of a tough question.
Yeah, to me, it's like, I'm just open. It just all depends on where I'm at and what projects I have going on. And again, the bottom line is, how am I doing physically as well? I mean, we don't live forever, and the machine starts to break down after a while.
T.O. McConnell says, what did you say to Shamrock after your first fight? You hugged after, and you can see Ken nodding his head and saying, okay.
Well, there's a couple things that he kind of misunderstood and took a little bit out of context. Well, I guess one thing I'll say that an interviewer had us both in the same room at the same time and are asking you rather pointed questions about the other, their opponent. And I kept thinking, well, this interviewer was interviewing Ken first. I thought, well, I'll simply step out of the room and he can feel free to answer things without me sitting right there. And as I did that, Ken basically did not understand what I do. He thought I would simply just walk out in the middle of an interview. And, I'll just say his cheese slipped off his cracker a little bit there. And he never understood what happened. So after that match, I basically was just letting know that there was meant for no disrespect. I was leaving the room. so that you could speak freely, and then I would come in and do my interview, and then you could depart. Actually, just talk about having mutual respect to give each other the freedom to say what they wanted to say without the other person present.
Laser 81095 says, "Who is your favorite professional wrestling opponent?"
I mean, the only person I'd say that I wrestled multiple times in an early interview, I said Steve Blackman. But the reality was, I probably wrestled Al Snow. When I really think back, I probably wrestled Al Snow more times than anybody else, especially in the beginning years, because I'd either wrestle him as either Al Snow or as underneath his alter ego Shinobi. So I would say Al because of his. I mean, Al's just a great guy, and he's a very comical type person. So there's just half the time you just don't know what he's going to say and or do in the ring. So that also made it fun and entertaining for myself.
James Earl Cash says, "What's your views on the early no holds barred UFC compared to today? Do you think they should have kept the no weight class form? A lot of people like that better."
Well, I'll say that they could have moved to weight classes, and then they could have had just one weight class where they'd simply call it the absolute. They do that in grappling, where, regardless of your weight or size, you can jump into the absolute grappling that's held like in Abu Dhabi. Um, there's merit for it. I think you can have both aspects. You can have people that are champions in their weight class, and then there are those that want to be known as giant killers, and they can go from their weight class and jump up one or two weight classes above that. And there are actually several people in the UFC that have had multiple titles because they've either gone either up a weight class or down a weight class. You got like John Jones that is looking at doing that to jump up to the heavyweight weight class.
Joe wants to know, how many different wrestling styles have you trained in?
Well, I mean, when it comes to just the folk style aspect, the United States is the only country that does folk style. That's why I started out with my freshman year in high school. Yes, I started into freestyle. Then my sophomore year, Greco-Roman wrestling, and then by my freshman year in college, I jumped into judo, and then I jumped into sambo. These are all different types of grappling arts. So again, I was a mixed martial artist before the term mixed martial artist ever came about.
Jack O'Connor wants to know how he could go about getting an autograph from you.
Well, I mean, the best way is to be just go to my website, dansevern.com, just because my social media is there, outlets for Facebook. But then there's also my email address. If you just email me, you can see on my website, you can see the categories known as shop, where I do have some merchandise, but my website's been shut down for basically about a year. The whole pandemic kind of took its toll. I do have a company that's supposed to be on board, that's supposed to be making changes, price changes, and certain products are no longer there. I have some new products to put back on up, so you can actually see things. You can't order it, but at least you can contact me now by email. So if you have interest in a certain picture or a certain T-shirt or a glove, I can let you know what I have, what the new prices are, and how payments are taken care of. But at least you can see some stuff. You can probably see more stuff off of my Facebook page that are much more current, and we'll have all the current information on there as well. And I simply say to still email me and discuss things. I don't like to keep things out on the open forum other than just talking about facts and figures of my career.
Seth Roma wants to know if you would fight Royce Gracie in Bellator. Royce Gracie, sorry.
Yeah. And his first name was
Seth.
Seth.
SESS.
Okay, well, okay, so I'll just say Seth, okay? Um, in my last couple of years, I tried to get one more match right in a row. It was like Mark Coleman, Ken Shamrock, Royce Gracie. If I could have had that as my last three matches, I would have orchestrated that. Knowing that I wanted to have all three matches, I wanted to be drug tested right alongside, because I am very proud of my career of being lifetime chemical free. And all three gentlemen there have popped for um, substances, different substances in each one, and a couple of them had popped a couple times. So I would have loved to have done one more match with all three, especially with Royce.
Alexander Ramos wants to know if you feel the Gracie's reputation is well deserved or overblown.
Well, I think that there might have been merit to it when it was all in Brazil. Um, I'll just say that I'll just state some facts. Eldest brother, sibling of the Gracie clan was Jorge and Gracie. Jorge and Gracie worked with Art Davie. Art Davie was the businessman who created the Ultimate Fighting Championships. He did not understand athletes. He brought on Jorge and Gracie to be the recruiter. If you simply go back and look at Royce's reign, each time that he won, it was announced as Gracie Jiu-Jitsu beats karate. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu beats Taekwondo. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It was never Royce Gracie just won. It was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So it was a marketing machine of which the Gracie family cleaned up, because if you were a martial arts owner, gym owner, and you wanted to bring Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or be a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu affiliate, um, you as an instructor had to be brought to a certain level. So you, on your own dime, had to fly back to California, and you had to put yourself on up. You had to take regular classes and then some specialized private lessons to get you up to a certain level, and to put that little piece of paper out there that you are a Gracie affiliate, and you're paying monthly dues, and you're buying your gis, belts, promotions, and you'd bring in one of the Gracies there to be part of these promotions. And everywhere, every step along the way, you had to pay dividends. So, from a business perspective, I tip my hat to them. And I like to think of myself as the monkey wrench that hit the system, because I finished up as a runner up to Royce, but based upon contract, I get to come back. So, UFC 5, I actually did a true training camp. I trained for 32 days, and I destroyed 3 men in a record time. That still holds to this day. So, and
Do you remember fighting David Ferguson in Arkansas back in the day? Michael B says he was at that fight and you finished the guy quickly.
I do remember, because David Ferguson was a great talker. I've actually met David on a number of different occasions. I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he actually comes from an amateur wrestling background as well. But I know he does a number of different things. I think I've actually even gone to, if he held a school at one point, I think I even did a seminar at his training facility. That's kind of the biggest thing that I do now, is between doing these Q&As, I do a lot of submission grappling or mixed martial arts seminars, both gi, non-gi for the grappling, but then when it comes to MMA, just to be going out there as a from a grappler's perspective, because I'm always telling people you're not going to learn any devastating blows, but you'll see some really interesting things out of the clinch.
Don't Do It Yourself wants to know if there's any American pure wrestlers you have respect for, and what are your thoughts on Khabib?
Well, I mean, Khabib. Well, when Khabib first went up against Conor McGregor, all kinds of people contacted me. Who's going to win? Well, I go, and then my quick response was, both athletes have that option. Conor McGregor is going to be on their feet, and while there's some kind of space, he has a very unorthodox left that he throws. He's got a great left hook. That's going to be his chance. But if Khabib gets past his hands and gets to a clinch or a takedown, then all bets are off. It's all on Khabib, because Khabib's not going to let Conor McGregor go, and he'll just continue to creep up and get to the point that he will choke him out or something.
I know Conor has 3 fights left on his contract. What do you expect for his next fight? Is it going to be Poirier again? Is it going to be Diaz?
Again, I didn't. You asked me a couple of questions right there. That I did not even know he had 3 more fights on his contract. Um, I don't watch a lot of UFC product. I will watch if I every now and then I will actually go to either Vegas or to some other point. I'll go to a show live, but typically I try to do that if I can bring either one of my sons or daughters or one of my family members, just because it's a greater experience for them to see it because now it's firsthand, and I enjoy it because I watch them more than I watch anything else because I just see the magic that it brings to them, especially again if I can bring a family member.
Darren wants to know if you ever met Alexander Karelin, and do you think he would have done well in MMA?
I know exactly who he is. I've seen lots of videos. I ever met him? No. Would he have done well in mixed martial arts? Oh yes, yes he would have done. He was known as the experiment. Well, he's probably known for the experiment for a few different reasons, but uh, but just an incredible athlete. And I actually have watched matches where some opponents would actually roll over and pin themselves just to save the punishment that they're going to go through, just to know that maybe they can come back and win the bronze medal.
Ibzam would like to know your thoughts on Jack Swagger. Have you seen any of his fights?
I know who Jack Swagger is. Um, can I pull up any of his matches offhand? No, I really can't. So I don't watch a lot of television. Have not for the last couple of decades. Um, you heard me make the statement there earlier, there, Hannibal, that when I travel cross country, sometimes I'll kick on talk radio late at night, only because it pisses me off. It's better than a cup of coffee.
Brother Eric wants to know who was the hardest hitting fighter you ever faced?
Well, typically, I would say it would have been another wrestler because what happens, or again, as the most difficult opponent, it would be someone that actually had a strong pedigree in amateur wrestling because that's what I brought to the table. So if we negate each other's amateur wrestling ability, now it goes on to secondary skills, meaning like punching, kicking, kneeing, and elbowing. And Mark Coleman, I've said this a number of times, Mark Coleman has probably hit me the hardest of anyone. Dave Bellator, Canadian wrestler, also was one of those guys that actually had a boxing background. And if you ever go back to watch the clip of him and myself, there's a couple times that I don't know how I got my head out of the way, but had he made contact, we would be talking about David Bellator today and not Dan Severn.
AJ2000 wants to know what you thought of Mark Schultz's UFC fight against Gary Goodridge.
Mark Schultz, incredible amateur wrestler, folk style and freestyle. Brothers to Dave Schultz. Mark was training with Goodrich, and basically in a true old school fashion, when Gary got hurt, he simply offered up to step in his place without no preparation thereof. He just simply stepped in and did fantastic.
Someone's asking, how would a fight between you and Randy Couture have gone?
Well, again, I've got a great deal of respect for Randy. He showcased a wrestler with additional attributes. Don Fryer was probably the first because he was a wrestler that actually had a boxing background as well. Randy, actually went into the military first, and then he came out of the military. Then he went on to this is our opportunity.
Yeah.
Is he going to be back out? Is he one of the ASU wrestlers? Yeah. Okay, because I don't know who he is, but I was trying to get a hold of Zeke Jones earlier because I used to have the code. I'm Dan Severn. I used to be the assistant wrestling coach. I'm also the guy that got into mixed martial arts professional. So we were trying to shoot this in there so we could showcase some of the ASU pictures and the wrestling room. Yeah, that'd be cool. So I would, because I was trying to get Zeke gave me the code. Yeah, I'm gonna say Zoop gave me the code at one point in time, but I had it on my old cell phone, and once I transferred it did not transfer it over. So, what's his name?
That's Cleveland Belton.
First name again?
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay.
Cleveland Belton.
Yeah, I'll just. We're gonna.
Yeah, we'll wrap up the fan questions here, and then we're gonna enter the wrestling room. Thanks, fans. Hold on, I'll give you one more. Would you have wrestled for ECW or WCW back in the day? Last question.
No, I mean WCW was, I think, one of the first companies to reach out to me. There's a lot that did not realize I actually had a professional wrestling background on the independent scene in the as of the '92 Olympics. Cleveland. I mean, I'm Dan Severn, a former ASU wrestler, but also MMA fighter, former ASU assistant wrestling coach.
Yes, sir.
I was trying to get a hold of Zeke. I used to have the code, but only on an old cell phone. We were going to try to shoot this in here to showcase